so much for being with us. Another show on Talk About Life, where you will find us on Dr. Moby's #1 professional podcast TV in America, Lifestyle TV USA channel by Dr. Moby, and also my own channel here in Singapore, international YouTube channel Talk About Life, and also on all my podcast catchers Talk About Life, and also on Radio IOW Network. I'm so honored to thank Miss Annette Whittenberger to be here in Singapore. It is the 12th of September 2021 at 10:06 p.m. Singapore. Welcome to Singapore. Annette, how are you, ma'am? Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the topic of today. Tell us a little bit of yourself and say hi to the audience here in Asia and Singapore.
Hello, Asia and Singapore. I'm coming from Texas. I'm in Texas right now, Central Texas. I am an Army retired vet. I'm a mother to an 18-year-old boy, 21-year-old girl, both in college, and a military spouse of 23 years. My husband's still serving.
Wow, yes. Man, I'm so honored, and on behalf of the rest of the world, a lot of us, you're really dependent on the American peacekeeping forces. And you know, in Singapore, there's an American base. In the Philippines, there's an American base, and you need the Americans to be keeping South China Sea safe right now. Singapore is in the middle of South China Sea. So you know what? Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us. And today we've got the topic, a woman's place. And the background of this is that, you know, Annette, if you allow me to call you so, you know, as a woman, and I'm brought up in this part of the world whereby we have a very conservative or reserved Eastern values. So I grew up in a home whereby my brother will say, "Why do you talk so much, and why do you keep giving your opinion? Why do you make so much trouble? Now, can't you just keep quiet? You're always giving us opinion. Can't you just keep quiet and sit down and just be quiet like the rest of the girls?" and there's always this saying, you know, a woman's place is in the kitchen. You know, I love to cook. By the way, I've got a cooking channel, but I think I can do much more than being in the kitchen, you know. I mean, I've traveled around the world. I've done a lot of things. I've got my own entrepreneurial experience. I'm a serial entrepreneur. But I think it's so apt in this time of the world. We're seeing women have played such an important role, much more so in the family in the pandemic times. And also yourself, being a female combat veteran, and yourself having such a high leadership position as a major, and you actually do have your troops below you, you're taking care of them. I'm very sure you take care of them in a different way from a man, but much more so, I think, with the kind of tenderness beyond maybe a male leader. Maybe in a much more holistic way. And I'm speaking from the way I see in my mom. She was a widow, and she became a widow when I was at the age of 7. She took care of the family. She raised the family up, and she's got like 3 jobs. You know, I looked up to her, a woman of great integrity, my mom. And also, you know, I think it is the time whereby we like yourself, join hands to really show that we are a part of humanity, 50% of it, if not more. You know, and I also like to have this 50% of decision making within the family with myself and my husband. Even though a lot of times he makes the final decision, I do respect him, but I do like to have my input. And I do go beyond the cleaning of the household. And I do go beyond, you know, doing the checklist of shopping online. You know, I do that. I think there's so much in me that I crave for respect for my own family, that I think my opinion means something. Yeah. So I think the title and the topic given to you, A Woman's Place, is so apt, so succinct. Yourself being such a great leader and a leader for men and women. So I'd like you to give us your take on a woman's place in the millennium, in the digital world, in the podcast world, and definitely in the world that's going to be post-pandemic very soon. Ma'am, I am so honored to have you in Singapore. Take it away, Annette.
Uh, Thank you so much. Sorry about that. I have little dogs in the background that want to bark all of a sudden. So Um, no, I resonate with everything that you said. It's funny because when I decided to join the military, my father was like, women shouldn't be in the military. And this was back in 98, no, 97, 98. And so I was always very stubborn and hard-headed. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to join anyway. And back then I was attending Arizona State University, and there wasn't many females, in the program that were sharing their interest in joining the military. So I felt the need to prove my point and prove myself. I was told that I smiled too much, that I was just too nice. Throughout my time in, I was too nice as a leader. But I think that's where the mothering, nurturing role came in, and I just wanted to protect everybody. And I led the way that I felt was right. Maybe I was too nice at times, but I think my soldiers appreciated it, and I remained the same for 17 years, and I disciplined when I needed to as a mom, but for my soldiers who needed to be disciplined. But I saw my mother raised my son, my brother and I on her own for many years, all while working and trying to get her own bachelor's degree. So, of course, we didn't really appreciate that till later. But I saw how she struggled to make ends meet, and who's going to watch the kids. And then back then we were latchkey kids, so my brother and I would walk home from school by ourselves because that's just what we did. So I did feel that I needed to prove myself a little bit every now and then as a female, because we are in a male-dominated society. But I think within the past 10 years or so, I've seen so many women become entrepreneurs and build their own businesses. And I thought, man, that's really cool. Like, you don't see that a lot, or you're looked down upon because, you shouldn't, women don't do that. So I think that's where the fierceness comes in, and we prove ourselves. And, oh yeah, well, watch me. And, even in the military, the past 5 years, women have been in combat leader roles, in infantry and the Marines. And it's like,
Wow.
man, it's just, and that's frowned upon too, because of course, the males are so used to having it a certain way that this change is huge and it's not normal. And it's just like, what are you doing? But these women want a place too. And although I am not in that physical shape to do what they're doing, go ahead. Like, if that's what you want to do it. And you did it, you proved it. And although it's still not celebrated, they know in their heart, I did what I wanted to do. I proved to myself. And so I think that's awesome. It was hard. When you were telling your story about your brother saying, why do you talk so much? It's funny because when I started sharing on Facebook about my own struggles and challenges, I had people ask me, why are you putting that all over Facebook? And I said, a part of me was like, oh, why am I doing that? But the other part of me is that's where people are. That's where people go for either comfort, to rent, to vent, to, just to read, just to do whatever. But you have to go where the people are. And that's where we made the connection. Somebody needed to read your post or my post at that moment in time to
Yeah.
save themselves or to make them think, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. So that's why I talk too much. So you keep talking, you talk too much, you do what you got to do because you're impacting people in a different way. And not everybody's going to agree with what we do. You know, they don't want to put their business out there. And that's totally fine. I'm not judging anybody for not wanting to do that. I just know that that's how I've been connecting with people and that's how I've been saving people. And that's what I need to continue doing because that's just how it is right now. Social media is that's just how it is. So we need to keep making impact. So yeah, sometimes we just have to talk too much until we're heard, right? So we have
I
to.
just want to ask, like in a real context of a relationship, like a husband wife, right? I mean, I still have struggles with my own family, like my brother, who's older, my sister who's older. I still do have a, I still do have struggles with them. It's like, number one, after like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you thought that, okay, when you have got some achievements in your career, they may see you differently. But hey, no, it's like you're still that small little girl, like they remember when you were 8. So I want to ask you about that kind of dynamics. A girl like coming up from a family uh, that she's trying to get her voice and her place in a family, in a society, and you know how does that kind of dynamics like within the family that you see that someone is still trying to say that, hey, your place is behind, your opinion is behind because the girls shouldn't be speaking up, for example, right? They have this thinking in mind. And also the dynamics between a husband and a wife, like yourself, that 50-50 collaborative, participatory kind of decision making and the opinion. In these two contexts, how do you find a voice that still get that kind of respect and not that kind of friction? Where people still do have, not probably within your context, but what kind of advice do you give?
It's all about, it took me years to be able to really communicate with my husband because I felt like I had to keep forcing my way to be heard,
Yes.
not because of him. I think it was just in my mindset too, but we finally had to sit down and say, and have the conversation of, okay, where's the boundary here? Like where do we make that decision? And I do make my own decisions, but I do, when it comes to decisions relating to my kids or huge major financial decisions, we communicate about that. So we have come to the agreement of, if we want to spend $10,000 or more on something, we need to talk about it. Even though we do make our own money, we do have our own accounts, it's still respect to say, hey, I want to buy a motorcycle. What do you think about it? Because it does impact the family and with the kids as well. So it took me years, but it's all about presentation, really, and tone of voice. I was very confrontational. I had to learn how to not be like that because I felt like I needed to, I don't know, prove myself. So we have spoken to our kids about this too. It's all about how you deliver it. If you come in saying, hey, this is what I want to do, that's going to start a fight, right? So you have to say, can we talk about this for a minute? This is what I need to say. And then you allow them to voice their opinion or concerns as well. So that's really, I think that's one of the biggest issues in having conversations and communication is deliverance. How are you delivering this? Are you coming off Like you want to fight already? Or are you coming in to the discussion calmly? Because my daughter does that too. When she wants to have a conversation, she comes in already like wanting to fight. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, step back. What are you trying to say?
Yeah.
What's the reaction and all this? So it takes time, but I think that's one of the things I've seen for a long time, for a few years now, is how are you delivering that? What's your reaction? Because if you're already mad and you're coming in mad, people are gonna think, oh, she wants to fight. Okay, this is gonna be an argument. That's not how it should be. It's you need to really step back and come in slowly and just have that conversation of this is how I feel, this is what I don't, this is not what I'm getting. And just, does that make sense? I think I'm trying to explain it. I just, no matter what it is, it's about how are you how are you presenting yourself? How are you going to present this discussion? Because we all need to be heard. It isn't, we do as women, as leaders, as wives, as sisters, we still need to be heard because I think we grew up in that culture where we weren't, because the women had a different role. And that's how I saw it too in the 80s was you don't step outside the house, you don't talk about your problems. You stay in the house and you do what you're supposed to do. Well, society's changed now and we want to be heard, but we need to do it in a fashion that makes sense now. Just we don't need to come in with fighting gloves. We just need to come in calmly and say, this is what I'm going to do, and be firm about it. This is what I want to do. This is what I believe in. And if you don't agree, I understand, but just be firm about it.
Yeah. And I have a question that, I'd like to bring you back to those days where you said that your dad didn't kind of agree when you wanted to be in the military, because they're still in this generation that, okay, the woman's place does not belong to there, right? It's just this whole this evolution of that thinking, right? There's no right or wrong. It's just an evolution of the mindset. So I just want you to share with us, when you came back from the military, I suppose you went over to do your basic training and everything, and when you come back to meet your dad, or the first instant whereby you all have that conversation whereby you went away, you think you were changed, and you think you became that military woman, you are strong, and then when you meet him, is there a dynamic kind of thing that went on, a kind of exchange? I suppose it's like a movie, right?
Yes. It's funny because both my parents for several years still tried to get me to not quit, but get out of it, because they were worried. They were worried. They were always worried about war. They were always worried about how are women treated. And I just had to stand my ground, really. I had to just say, look, it's okay. It's okay. And this is what I want to do. So I really had to just continue to reassure them that I'm fine. Women can do this. I'm not the only girl. Like, there was other girls there too, and they were tough. And I had to learn from them because I was so sheltered that I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, I had to just keep telling them it's okay. But they really did. Well, can you just tell your boss you need to come home, or can you? I'm like, no, this is not how it works here. So, he learned to just go with it, so to speak. He just learned to just say, okay, this is what you want to do. And he didn't really say anything else about, well, I don't agree with it. He was just, I think it was just more concerned because he didn't see females in the military. So he didn't know. So you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how to react. So I just had to keep showing him that it was okay. And then now it's funny because when I told him I retired, he's like, oh, Okay, good. Like you're
It's,
done.
it's like, phew,
Yeah.
I gotta wipe
Okay.
off
I
my
don't have,
sweat. All these years has been like, no, but I
yes.
suppose,
So I am.
yeah, I suppose, Annette, I mean, there must have been a lot of dynamics that went on these years. The push and the pull factor that, you can't really speak about it in like 30 minutes, but I suppose it can be made into a movie, right? When you zoom into a father's a mind and how he kind of starts to accept a daughter who has maybe in his whole entire mind when you were born, he never really thought you will kind of do something like what you do and achieve that kind of position that you are. Am I right?
Right. Yeah. He never thought. And then when I married another service member, it was like, oh my gosh. It doesn't end. And we kept moving and it just gets like, that's not the normal lifestyle that we were raised in. We stayed in one place. And so when I joined, it was like I was constantly all over the place. And then I had kids and it was just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so much going on. But I think with this lifestyle that I chose, I just had to continue showing people and my family that it could be done. That this is just what we do. This is my life, and it's okay. It's really okay, and we're doing something good. Bigger than
Of course,
ourselves for
of course.
for the country. So, but yeah, it
I mean,
was it
not
was
not only
always
for the
challenging.
country. I mean, you're really talking about global kind of stability.
Mhm.
You really trying to stabilize certain places, right? And that's how Singapore is one of the American allies. Tell us about your role right now as a female entrepreneur. You have this entrepreneurial experience, a wild ride called life that you actually registered your trademark and you're rolling out this new enterprise, which I'm so glad to read about your stories on your website. How do you see yourself as a female entrepreneur now, as opposed to if you had done this like your mother's time?
It was definitely not something that I had planned. It was an accident because when I retired, I was very depressed because I didn't know who I was anymore outside of the uniform. And
Hmm.
as a female leader, being lost, it was very devastating. And
Yes.
so I needed to find a way to let all this anger and rage out. And that's where I created the blog. I thought, well, let me just, start writing and then I'm going to share it with the world. I don't know why at that time I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to know. But I figured that I needed to start somewhere and that I wasn't the only one going through this. There's no way I could be the only one. And so that's where I created it from. A wild ride called life is just like, I think I believe in God and I think he just popped it into my head one day and I was like, oh my gosh, that has to be it. I never
Has to be
realized what
it.
it would be now.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was going to be now, but I thought this can apply to everything and anybody. And so I kept it. And so from the website and the blog, it's not just about me anymore. It's about all these people, whether you're military or not, people are still suffering in silence. Culture, being a woman, being a mom, you're supposed to be strong. And so you don't know how to tell people, I am not okay. This sucks. And I don't know how to talk about it because people are going to look at me differently. And so I had to continue to do that. And, there's still some days where I'm just like, I just can't, but I have to remind myself that it's okay. You don't have to do this every single day. You could take time out for yourself. And that was very hard to learn because as a mom, you're just like, I have to be there for my kids. I have to be present. But man, it's exhausting. And then being an entrepreneur, that's hard too, because you always feel like you have to stay up all
Yes,
the time. You always have to be
yes,
energized. And it's like,
yes. Yeah,
when
exactly.
can we breathe?
So my final question for you, Annette, you have been so kind to share these stories. Now being a mother to your children, particularly your daughter, um, how do you see the world that she will be in when she becomes the woman like you?
It seems to get more difficult all the time. So I have to keep telling her to just continue to go after what you want, continue your dreams. Don't quit when it's hard, because it's always going to be hard. And that's very difficult, because there's days where she's like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I'm like, no, why don't you want to do it? Because it's hard. Okay, well, this isn't going to be the end of it. So you have to continue. So I have to just continue to remember that I need to raise the kids to continue to be strong, because this world isn't going to change. Like, it's just getting harder, right? It doesn't seem like it's getting easier. So we have to continue to have that conversation with our kids and not quit when it's hard. You're going to fall, you're going to fail. Things aren't going to work out the way you want, but what do you want from it? You have to continue. What do I say? Do what sets your soul on fire. You have to continue to go towards that. And it's going to be hard, but you have to continue to see that light at the end of the tunnel, because otherwise everyone would just be sitting here like, I give up. But that's not how we got here, right? If I wouldn't have joined the army, I wouldn't have been doing this. If you wouldn't have gone through your challenges, you wouldn't be doing this. So it's like, another thing that I heard 3 years ago was, your mess is your message. So turn that, all that stuff you got into, turn it into a message of hope and positivity. That's just what we really have to look towards. And yeah, we have to keep going.
So thank you so much. We've got 30 minutes from you. You talked about when you first, got yourself, into the military, your dad, and then you as a mom, and also you as an entrepreneur. I guess there's so many episodes that you can actually make it into a movie. There hasn't been any movies about women in the military, right? Not that I know of. I mean, it's all dominated by Tom Cruise. Hasn't been
there
anyone.
there there is
Maybe you should
one.
start something like that, with a wild ride called life, to make it into a movie. That's the script.
Yes, and that is actually one of my goals and my dreams.
Wow.
So we should try to make that happen. But yes, I want to do that. I really, really do.
Yes, and I wish you all the best on that. And I hope to see more military stories coming out from you. A wild ride called live, ladies and gentlemen. Go to her podcast and go to her website. And also, I think you've got a book, right?
I do. My book is
Could
called
you
The
tell
Wall
us where to
Between
get
Two
it, a little bit
Lives.
about your book before we say goodbye?
Yes, it's called The Wall Between Two Lives.
Oh, yes.
And you can get it on Amazon.
I love that, and I love the picture because you've got shoes, the boots.
Yes, those are my shoes.
And then
yes.
it's like a slip-in shoes, right? Is it a heel, right?
Yeah, they're heels.
I mean, that kind of encapsulates everything. Wow, I love the image. That it's such a powerful imagery, especially coming from a woman. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how grateful I am to have you, and particularly your book. Wonderful. That image is so powerful, particularly coming from a woman. They know exactly what you're trying to say. That just with that shoes, that it just blows my mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. A big round of applause for our veteran there. And a huge salute to you and your family and your husband who is still serving. I hope there's going to be peace in South China Sea because anything can just flare up right here and we're just in the middle there. So thank you so much, Annette. I just want to thank you and I want to let you know that you're such a shining light. And please, ladies and gentlemen, go to Amazon, Kindle.com, support Annette because she is the cover of the inaugural issue of It's My Life, featuring Miss Annette Whittenberger and her interview there. Please go there and support her because she's there in Amazon.com and Kindle. Thank you so much. And salute to you and America. And also, September 11th is such a day for the whole world to come together, that we have to continue to seek peace and harmony and understanding across the world. Thank you, Annette. Would you like to say goodbye and something to wrap up in the next 15 seconds?
Yes, no, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be on here, and I love to continue doing this with you. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and welcome to Singapore. And I really hope to see you and the rest of the group in the podcast world somewhere, somehow, maybe in Singapore. We must be connected in the real life. Thank you, and friends in the digital world. Thank you. Bye. All the love.
Bye.
From Singapore. Bye.